Hey guys, we're going to be starting quadratics today. You don't need calculators, you just need to be looking at the graph and answering these questions, and they do not have to be in any specific order. I would start from the easiest one to the hardest one. So what I would start with is domain, because domain of quadratic functions that are continuous, that keep going forever and ever, will always be all real numbers. Okay, so again, this one's going to go to the left forever and ever and to the right forever and ever. So the domain is all real numbers because domain goes from left to right. Okay? The next easiest one is the vertex. Vertex is the tip of the parabola, whether it's a maximum point or a minimum point. And this one would be a minimum point because it's the lowest point on this parabola. If it opens downward, like this, then you'll have a maximum point. So again, this is called the vertex. It's a point, and this point is at negative 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 1, 2, 3, 4. And so you would write it negative 4, comma, negative 4. And it's a minimum. Okay? Once you find the vertex, you also found the axis of symmetry and vice versa, because the axis of symmetry cuts the parabola in half. It's an imaginary line that cuts it in half, so I'm going to write right here axis of symmetry. Now you need to be writing all this down, so if I'm going too fast, you know what to do. Pause the video and write the stuff down. So axis of symmetry is an imaginary line that cuts through the x-axis at negative 4. So this would be x equals negative 4 because it went through the x at negative 4. Okay? Another way to find it is by looking at the vertex. Whatever the x is on the vertex will also be the x on the axis of symmetry. Okay? The next easy one is solutions. Those are found on the x-axis as well. Okay? It's where they cross on the x-axis. That's why they're also called the x-intercepts. They have a lot of names. So if they ask you for solutions, those are the x-intercepts. They're also called the zeros or the roots. So any of these vocabulary words mean the same thing. It's where they cross on the x-axis. So for instance, this would be at negative 2 and negative 6. Okay? The y-axis, the y-intercept is found on the y-axis. This one is not crossing yet. If you see that arrow, it means it's going to keep going. So if you keep drawing it, it'll cross right here at 8. So it's wherever it crosses the y-axis. So it's at 8, 0, comma, positive 8. Okay? And then the hardest one, the one that people always have trouble with, is the range. Range is always written like this. You start it like this, right? And on here, you're going to put the bottommost number, the lowest number, and on the right side, you're going to put the highest number, the topmost number. So again, on the left, right here, you're looking for what is the lowest point that it goes through. This is the lowest point, and it's at negative 4. So I would put negative 4 right here. And I would put a equal to because there is a point at negative 4. It touches at negative 4, so it equals to negative 4. Okay? On the right side, we're going to put what is the highest point that it goes to. So the highest point that it goes to will be infinity because those arrows are going to keep going forever and ever. Okay? Once you wrote it that way, you can take off the infinity part. This is the only part that you need. And if you flip it, it will be y greater than or equal to negative 4. You have to flip everything, including the symbol. All right? So I want you to do the same thing for problem 2, 3, and then continue with the worksheet answering those questions. press pause, try to do 2 and 3 by yourself, and then I will show you how to do a few other things on this paper. Okay, the only difference in problem 3 is that this opens downward. So the only thing that's going to be different is that it has a maximum point and the range is going to be a little bit different. So we're going to start range like this again. But the lowest point that it goes to is not 4. That's the highest point that it goes to. So the 4, because it's the highest point, is going to go on the other side now. And then the lowest point that it goes to is negative infinity. So that's going to go first. Remember, bottom goes first, top goes second. And then once you have that, take off the infinity part, and this is ready. You don't even have to flip it because the y is already first. Okay? Now, another thing you need to know. When you have a quadratic that opens downward, that's called a negative quadratic. That means the a will be negative in the equation. That's going to help you with problem number 10. So if we go look at problem number 10, this is also a negative quadratic. If you notice, it opens downward, right? Meaning it's a negative quadratic. So the a needs to be negative. So which one of these answers tells you that the a is negative? A says a is greater than 0. What type of numbers are greater than 0? B says a is less than 0. What type of numbers are those? What are the numbers that are less than 0? C says that a is between 0 and 1. So I need you to think about what type of numbers are between 0 and 1. And then D says that a is equal to 0. Well, I didn't say a is equal to 0. I said a is negative. So now you have something to think about and see which one of these would be the correct answer. Okay, go ahead and finish the paper by yourself. We're going to continue quadratics for the next 3 days.